Good morning, everybody. A very warm welcome to our Wednesday wisdom session for August 2025. We are thrilled that you have joined us this morning, and we have an exciting hour ahead of us. Joining me this morning is Rita McCabe. Rita is head of all the student advisors at Academy of York. And good morning, Rita.
Good morning, Johan. Good morning, everyone. Looking forward to an exciting teamwork and collaboration on this Wisdom Wednesday session. Welcome, everyone.
Absolutely. For those of you who I've met before, hello again. For those of you that haven't met with me, my name is Johan Oosthuizen, and I am the Academic Dean for Academy of York, and I am very excited about this opportunity. So once again, a very good morning to you. We encourage you to please participate this morning. One of the ways in which you can interact with us is through the menti.com website. The details are on screen at the bottom right-hand corner. All you need to do is go to www.menti.com, or you can scan the QR code, and if prompted for an access code, it also appears on screen, 47011707. As I say, some of the slides are interactive, and we'd love to have your feedback on some of the questions we pose. In addition, you are most welcome to engage with us in the chat. Rita will assist me in monitoring the chat, and from time to time during the presentation, I'll hand over to Rita to go through the chat box with us. So please forgive me if we don't respond to your chat. So a very important topic for discussion this morning, the idea or the concept of teamwork and the importance of collaboration. And I know that all of you have experiences in working as part of a team, teams where you've achieved great things, and perhaps experiences in other teams where perhaps you did not achieve your goals. Whatever your experiences with teamwork, I think you would agree with me that in life, and most certainly in the workplace, teamwork is an absolutely critical element of successful business. So we're going to unpack the idea of teamwork today and what it means for us. So we'll start our discussion this morning by looking a bit at, what is teamwork and why it's important. And we will look at different teams that exist in businesses. There are various types of teams, formal teams and informal teams. So we'll unpack that a bit further. A very important thing to remember is that teams go through different stages, and we will go through those stages with you this morning. Then teams are diverse. They attract different people from different backgrounds. And so it's important for us to understand that in a team, people assume different roles. And that is something we'll delve into further. We look at how to deal with negativity when it impacts the team. How can we ensure team success? And finally, nurturing the skills of your team members. A very warm welcome once again to Wisdom Wednesday, where we talk about teamwork and collaboration. We have an exciting morning ahead of us. We encourage you to participate with some of the slides. The menti.com address is on the slide, as well as the access code. And a lot easier is just to scan the QR code with your phone. Let's move on to the next slide. So a starting point in discussing teamwork and successful teamwork and what it means in business is to understand what teamwork means. And teamwork can roughly be defined as a collaborative effort of a group of people to achieve a common goal in the most effective and efficient way. So a number of people getting together, we have a similar focus, we have mutual purpose, and we want to get to that goal in the best way possible. And teamwork means individuals working as one unit, because the combined effort of the team means a lot more than individual team members on their own. I think you would agree with me when, we're trying to solve a problem, or trying to come up with a new strategy. More heads is very valuable in that process, as we get different perspectives and different ideas. So, this idea of working together is critical. What do you think are the most important ingredient, or what is the most important ingredient for successful teamwork? Please engage with us. The QR code is at the bottom right of the screen. You can also go to the www.menti.com website, and you can respond to this slide. There's 4 options available. I just want to check with Rita. Can you clearly see the QR code and the
Definitely.
options? Okay,
I've
great.
I've got it. I've got it. Yes, it's
Okay,
clear.
great. So the first option is everyone having the same skill, clear communication and trust, a strong team leader, or working in the same location. Which one of those do you think is most important for successful teamwork? Remember, your responses are confidential. We won't know who's saying what. And also remember that there might be more than one correct answer. And so we're trying to find the best alternative in this case. I'm hoping that we will see some responses in the next few seconds. If any of you can just give me an indication in the chat that you've managed to find the Menti website and you're able to interact. I just want to make sure the quiz, there's a
Yeah.
hand.
Yes, I've managed to send some reply as well, but I don't see any update on here. But yeah, I
Okay.
think there are some communications, or rather votes, coming through.
Okay, great.
Mm.
Rita, are you able to interact in the quiz if you scan it with your phone?
I've already logged in. Yes, I've interacted.
Oh,
Seems
so
to
it
be
works.
working. Yes, it is. I'm not
It's
seeing any
just,
update there.
okay.
Yeah, I love that people are sending their comments in the chat. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's
Some I,
focus on the comments in the chat.
yeah.
Yes, I believe clear communication is absolutely critical. I agree with you.
Mm.
Clear communication, yes, and trust. Yes, I think we're all very much on the same page uh, when it comes to communication. Somebody has also said a strong team leader, which I agree. Team, leadership in a team is also critical. I do think that the idea of trust, the ability to trust one another, and for teams to be a safe space in which to handle conflict, exchange ideas, is very, very important. So thank you for your feedback on that. And clear communication is absolutely critical. The ability to clearly spell out what the team needs to achieve. So why is teamwork so important? And this morning we've been touching on it. I also see that Charles is saying problem solving and accountability. Absolutely right. I agree with you. Respect, I very much like respect. Respect for one another, respect for the institution, respect for the team and your other team members. So why is teamwork so important? Firstly, it's an opportunity to combine diverse skills, perspectives, and strengths. Earlier I said that, a team is typically formed because together the team is stronger than the individual team members. And I think that's important to remember, is this idea of bringing diverse skills and diverse perspectives into a team. As humans, we often we view things according to our specific frame of reference, and that's also how we solve problems and interpret the world around us, is through this frame of reference. And to bring other individuals into the team, that bring greater diversity in terms of frame of reference is very important and absolutely critical for problem solving. Creativity and innovation is essential for teams, the ability to think out the box, to devise new ways of solving problems, to look at a different way of doing things so that you get a different result. So the idea of creativity and innovation, and remember, we all have different aptitudes. So I might be creative in one way, for example, through visuals and diagrams and presenting information like that. Another person may have, might be quite innovative in the way that they can write something or even present something to an audience. So it's all those skills that we want to bring into the team and that we want to capitalize on. Very importantly, teamwork in an organization builds trust, accountability, and shared responsibility. I'm sure that you've been in a situation where you've been part of a team or you've led a team, and we sometimes, when one team member is not pulling their weight, then the other team members would reprimand that person or remind that person of the team's goals. So this idea of shared responsibility and accountability is very important. Team members need to understand that if they don't do their bit, that will obviously have an impact on the rest of the team and will affect the team negatively. So we want to bring this all into one team, the idea of trust, accountability, shared responsibility, and finally, teams are able to enhance productivity and efficiency for all the reasons we've just discussed. But also teams, when they collaborate, there are more hands doing the work, there are more brains applying themselves to a problem situation, and we become more productive in reaching our goals. So in organizations, we typically get different types of teams. We have those formal teams which have been established by the organogram in the company or the organization. We sometimes have teams that move across various departments, and we sometimes have special teams that are brought about to deliver on special projects, as an example. So the first team there is a functional team where members from the same department or area work together, and I think that's what we've just discussed. Those are sort of the formal teams in a business. For example, the HR department, the marketing department, all those individuals working together because they focus on similar work tasks and similar work outputs. And then cross-functional teams where we have members from different departments coming together to achieve a common goal. And this could be something like improving the customer experience. Within a company, we may have somebody from the sales department, we might have somebody from the marketing department, we might have somebody from operations to bring their expertise in from the different fields so that we can understand this from an organization-wide perspective. We also have self-managed teams, and they really carry on without supervision. These are other work activities or tasks. Sometimes they fall beyond the scope of the formal responsibilities of the department, but sometimes they are part of it, and they carry on their own. The members have a mutual understanding of what needs to be achieved, and so these teams carry on with, without great amounts of supervision and even leadership, because they are all thinking in the same way. Obviously, we have virtual teams, and we've really seen a change in office setups globally since the pandemic. We've seen a lot more virtual teams. We've seen virtual education. We know that virtual teams can be very effective. I suppose there are benefits to team members who are in different places in the world, and through virtual teams, we can bring people together into a meeting space to collaborate and work together on achieving common goals. Project teams, we know that a project has a specific start date and a specific end date, and so the goal of the project team is to collaborate and to apply their minds in delivering on project outcomes. And we know that these teams generally dissolve after the project has been completed. And then, so project teams, and then there's also a duplication there where it sort of like ties in with the previous discussion point, but really this idea of project team members working together, there's a definite start and a definite end to the project, and then the team dissolves. The next thing that I would like to discuss is the idea of the stages of team development, which was originally created by Tuckman. And he proposed that in teamwork, there are essentially 4 stages. Actually, there are 5 stages. The 5th stage does not appear on this slide, but the 4 on the slide are the most important ones. Generally, when teams come together and we create new teams, we often start with this forming stage. People need to get to know one another. Maybe they are colleagues at work, but they've never really worked together, in the same team. So it's very much this stage of team development is getting to know each other and getting to understand one another. And at this point, we are also trying to put together the goals of the team. And we're trying to articulate what must the team achieve? How will we achieve it? So there's also a planning element here, but it's still quite superficial because, there are various personalities in a team. There are various strengths in a team. So we're really trying to understand who's good at what at this point. So it's sort of a getting to know one another stage. And as teams progress, right at the outset, we might see some conflict arise. There might be conflicts around who should be leading the team. There might be conflicts around what the team needs to achieve. There might be conflicts around how to get to those goals. And this is what we call the storming stage. And sometimes there is conflict at this point. There might be differences amongst team members. Some team members might be challenging others. And so it's important for us as team leaders to really keep a close eye on this stage of team development. While storming is natural and it's healthy in teams, we don't want it to become dysfunctional, so that it, influence our goal achievement. So storming stage is a natural process. If you are a team leader or part of a team, expect a bit of storming to come. And that's good because we're clarifying roles and responsibilities. We're clarifying expectations. We're deciding on the best route to take. And through this storming stage, it will hopefully then go into norming. And norming is where we are more comfortable with one another. We understand each other better. We've created some sort of common ground in terms of what we need to achieve. We have established leadership in the team. We know who are the experts at what. And this norming, this understanding one another, understanding the goals, mutually agreeing on the path forward leads to the performing stage in team development. And this is really where the team is performing at its optimum. And this is where the actual work takes place. But we can't get to the performing stage if we haven't gone through forming, we haven't gone through a certain amount of storming, there hasn't been norming, the team will not be able to perform optimally. So now that we are at this performing stage, we are delivering on our goals. Um, uh, we can answer to the expectations of the team's delivery, and things are going really well. We are getting along, and sometimes at this point we might even regress a bit when a new goal is presented for the team. We might go a bit into norming again. We might track back into storming or some form of conflict again. But hopefully it isn't as long as when the team was first formed. And so if you're a team leader, it's important to acknowledge that there are these various stages in team development. It is normal, and it's something that a team has to go through. And then you want to focus on this performing stage where we are achieving our goals as a team. The one last aspect of team development, which is not on this slide, is called adjourning. And when a team has achieved its goals, depending on the nature of the team and the focus of the team and the responsibilities of the team, that team might adjourn. In other words, we've reached the goals, we've done what we've set out to do, there has been success, or perhaps there hasn't been success, and then we adjourn. And then when we adjourn and the goals are new, there are new directors in terms of who must be in a team, this forming stage starts all over again. So importantly, remember that teams go through stages. It is normal, it is healthy, but we want to make sure that we get to this performing stage where it's the optimal level and we're getting to achieve goals. Another opportunity to interact, and I'm really hoping that my slide is going to work with me on this. But yeah, if it doesn't work and we're not seeing the results on screen, please just pop your ideas into the chat. I would very much appreciate that. So the question is, which of the following best describes a high performance team, a team that's achieving its goals optimally? And the first option there is a group where one person makes all the decisions. The second option is a team that avoids conflict at all costs. The third option, a team that collaborates, shares responsibility, and learns from mistakes. And then finally, a team that competes internally for recognition. And maybe the easiest way to approach this is by immediately eliminating those ones that you don't agree with. Rita, would you like to comment just on the responses we're receiving in the chat?
Definitely, definitely. It seems as though a team that collaborates and shares responsibilities and learns from mistakes is what everybody agrees on, as a high performing team. And I definitely do agree on that as well, because, if we can take that ownership and work together, each one carry their weight. And if we do make mistakes, I mean, it's bound to happen, None of us are perfect. We learn from these mistakes, share our learnings, and I think that's where we can actually grow stronger together. Yeah. So I'm in agreement with everybody here. Everyone's on number 3. Woohoo!
Absolutely, and I agree as well. I mean, obviously, the first option, a group where one person makes all the decisions. I mean, that reminds me of authoritarian leadership and even dictatorship, and we know that that is not a good way to lead people, and we know that that is not a way for a team to operate. We bring people together from diverse backgrounds with diverse talents and knowledge, and we want to absolutely capitalize on that. And when one person makes all the decisions, you will have team members who will either rebel, who will become disinterested and won't do their best in the team. Every team member must be listened to and their contribution respected and appreciated. And the team say the second one, they're most certainly not. I think we saw on the stages of group development that conflict is a natural part of team development. But a team that avoids conflict will not be able to move forward because that conflict will always remain in the background and it will detract us from the goals we need to achieve. So where there is conflict, and if you're a team leader, you want to bring the conflict to the fore, and we want to solve those issues in a constructive manner. And often conflict also brings about new ideas and different ways of doing things. And so we really want to engage constructive conflict. Not conflict which is negative, but conflict that we can use to the benefit of the team and the team's efforts. And then the fourth one there, a team that competes internally. I think in teams we will naturally find a bit of competition, and I don't think it's altogether bad, but I think when the competition is so rife that we lose focus of the collaborative efforts of a team and working towards a common goal. When we lose sight of that and our only goal is to win all the time, that will become dysfunctional in a team over time. So uh, we want to recognize everybody's contribution in a team. So we also have different personality types in the team because we're all different. We know that. And we assume different roles depending on the tasks before us and the work tasks that need to be completed or the social settings we find ourselves in, or the business settings we find ourselves in. So you might think that you are generally an organizer in teamwork, and that might be true. But your role might change to an innovator in another team because the goal lends itself more to innovation. So you will find yourself assuming different roles at different times depending on the team. But in general, what we see is the following sort of personality types appearing in a team. And remember, I said it's not always that you will be a leader in all teams. You might be a leader in this team because of your subject matter expertise or your knowledge of a certain business process, but when you get to another team, there might be somebody else who might be more knowledgeable, and they might assume a team leader position. But just to understand, the leader provides direction and guides decision making. They don't make all the decisions themselves. They provide an atmosphere and an environment in which people can collaborate and make decisions together. So a leader keeps the team on track, intervenes when there's conflict, reminds teams of the goals. And then the innovator, those are the ones that generally come up with new ideas and new ways of doing, thinking out the box. And we need these guys on our teams. The organizer is quite structured and will present due dates and plans for meeting goals and will say who is responsible for achieving what. And so that's very, very critical, is to have the organizer as well, because we might have all these ideas going and brainstorming and new ideas flowing, and the leader is pushing us ahead, keeping us on track. However, The organizer is going to make sure that we keep to the plan and that it is a structured approach. And the harmonizer, I'm sure you'll know that you might be a harmonizer in a lot of team settings, but harmonizers, we like the peace. We like people to be able to work together. We're good at conflict resolution, so we need the harmonizer in the team. Then there is also the analyst who thinks of facts and figures, who who actively engages with problems with a view to solving those in new and different ways. We need analysts as well. If we're working with large volumes of data, if we are confronted with a problem situation, the analyst will, go and pull it apart, put it back together for us so that we fully understand it. And then the doer, they just do. There's a task that needs to be done, and they jump straight in and they get it done. So we need all of these personality types in our business, in our organization, in our teams to get the job done. And as I mentioned previously, your role, you as a team member, your role will change depending on the goal of the team and the makeup of the team. But as a team leader, it's important to understand that these various roles do emerge, and we need these strengths in a team to move forward. A lovely video there, just explaining the different roles in a team, and also some of the negativity in a team, those team members that are going to pull the team down. And so as team leaders, it's important that we remember that there are all these different roles, but often we get members in teams who are dysfunctional, and they need to be brought back on track and reminded of the goals of the team. I'm going to ask Rita to explore this team scenario with us.
I think I'm going to put my camera off. I see there is a bit of delay with network with some people. Can I get a thumbs up if everybody can hear me? I see Melissa is not able to hear correctly. Can I get a thumbs up? Yay! There we go. Okay, so I'll be turning off my camera so you guys can hear. So the scenario goes, one of my colleagues at work is disengaged, delivering the bare minimum, whilst others are pushing hard to meet goals. The whole team feels frustrated that not everyone is pulling their weight. Now, I guess the question is, how could you re-engage that teammate and keep motivation up across the team? I'd love your feedback on the comments as well. You know, being in a leadership role, you've got to take it, tread a bit lightly, instead of just jumping straight into, having a performance talk. Maybe have that individual, a genuine one-on-one check-in, you know. Sometimes the disengagement comes from, personal challenges, burnout, or maybe feeling disconnected from the team's goal. So, just check in with them and say, hey, I've noticed you seem a bit less engaged lately. Is everything okay? And I mean that just that small interest can make them feel seen, you know, make them feel seen. But at the same time, it's also about reminding them of why are we here? What is our purpose? What is the goal that we have in mind? And more importantly, what impact they have, you know? A lot of the times it's difficult when it comes to, just after a big win to get the team re-engaged, get them pushing again. But, reminding them, sometimes they lose sight of why they're here. What is it that helps, or rather, the impact that they have, that small impact that makes a big difference in the team, you know. Also, collaborating. A lot of the times it's a matter of how do they think or feel we need to tackle the goal. Perhaps they have a different approach or an idea, and giving them that platform to speak, to raise their ideas or their concerns also gives them, might reignite that motivation, reduce a bit of defensiveness or frustration that they might be feeling. So I love the comments. Yeah. We definitely will be sharing the videos as well on our social medias, because to work in a team is not as easy as we would love it to be. How would you approach the disengaged team member, without alienating them? Because sometimes, having that individual discussion, they might feel like, whoa, why am I being attacked? I'm not the man, I'm not the one that's doing the wrong. You know, how could the team balance that fairness with compassion? Something to think about. And a lot of the times it's also about the motivation that needs to be re-engaged in the team. You know, so I think it's definitely, scenarios we deal with, whether we're a big team or we might be a small team. It is important to identify, those individuals that are not engaging, that are feeling, bleh, or feeling like their effort is not seen. So yeah. Yes, we're definitely sending the recordings. Thank you. We will be sharing them on our Facebook page as well for you guys. And that interaction can also be continue on our Facebook page, because I don't think it's just a topic to end now, within this hour, because we come up against a lot of, scenarios at work that we find difficulties in dealing with. And this actually helps us then to just, explore different ways on how to deal with it.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Rita. Some wonderful insights there, and very important to get that team member back on track. So in the video, we saw somebody that was pulling the team down. So obviously, with most human interaction, there might be levels of negativity that arise, and this could be due to various reasons. I see Connie in the chat has said to us, sometimes it's external to the team and external to the business or the organization, and that's quite true. But we have to deal with negativity in the team. We need to keep spirits up. We need to keep individuals motivated to achieve the team goals. So some advice from our side, if you find yourself as part of a team member or you are the team leader, importantly is to remember that we shouldn't leave things to fester and to become worse over time. We need to address issues early and we need to do them privately. If there is a team member who is negative, and that's rubbing off on other members in the team, we need to address it with that team member. And best is not to call out the team member in front of others, but to discuss it first with them privately. I think that you will get a much better response from the person. They will engage with you a lot better as opposed to calling out a team member in front of other team members. And then very importantly, and that goes with any type of conflict resolution, is that we focus on the behavior that is leading to negativity. The things that people are doing that's creating a negative perception or a negative atmosphere. And so we're not focusing on the person, we are focusing on the behavior. What is this team member doing that is creating this negative atmosphere? Not the person's personality, the way they speak or the way they dress, or any other personal matter. It is about the behaviors that are affecting the team. And we want to encourage constructive feedback. You know, when we are dealing with negative individuals, we want to encourage them to give us constructive feedback as to how we can solve problems and resolve issues. We want to maybe go back to the team's norms. Remember, at the beginning of group development, there is this stage called norming, where people are getting to know one another and they're setting boundaries and expectations. And so sometimes returning to that stage momentarily could be helpful in getting rid of negativity in teams. Provide support, mediate between individuals. Often those team members who are engaged in conflict will need the team leader or anybody else in the team, for that matter, to engage and to help the individuals to overcome their conflict so that both parties win and there is mutual respect for one another. And then finally, we need to know when to escalate things that go wrong in teams and when to think about restructuring teams. So, you know, at the very end of this process of dealing with negativity is to decide, will I take this to the team leader for resolution? Do we need to appeal to someone else in the organization that's perhaps higher up in the organizational hierarchy to assist us to solve the team's problems? And perhaps if there was an issue with leadership in the team or certain people were responsible for completing certain tasks, we might want to rethink those responsibilities and, you know, maybe rethink the roles that people assume, uh, in a team. I like the idea on the chat of doing some team building. Wellness is important, and I think those are great ideas for also getting rid of negativity in teams. I think that we have to realize that there is always potential for negativity. There is always an opportunity, or there will always be opportunity, there will always be cases where certain individuals bring the team down. So we need to recognize that and we need to deal with it constructively so that the team can once again um, uh, focus on achieving their goals. So some uh, golden points here for making sure that your team succeed. Set clear expectations and goals. I'm sure you've all heard about SMART goals. They have to be specific, they have to be measurable, they have to be achievable, realistic, and time bound. So that's one way of setting goals so that Goals are very clear in terms of what needs to be achieved, by when, and by whom. We want to make sure that people in our teams know what their responsibilities are. And, if it means standing in the boardroom with a flip chart and writing down names and writing down their responsibilities and articulating exactly what roles they will assume in the team, then that is what we need to do. We want to foster open and respectful communication. Remember, we also said that collaboration and trust is critical to effective teamwork. And if we open to communication and respectful communication, we encourage that sense of trust, or that feeling of trust. Use tools, encourage participation and active listening. So there is a difference between listening and active listening. So I think you may have found yourselves in environments where you're attending a meeting and goodness, after 5 minutes, you switch off and you don't actually know what's going on in the meeting. I've certainly been in some of those meetings. So it's important that we keep on listening to what team members are saying. And active listening is having a conversation with yourself. Do I understand the instructions that the team leader has just given? Do I understand the solution that another team member has just presented? So it's an active process where we're engaging in dialogue with ourselves and with other team members. We are reframing, we are also rephrasing to make sure that we have a common understanding. And that's very important. There are some very nifty tools to track the progress of teams, and you may have come across some of those tools. Slack is a software that helps you, to keep the activities of team members focused, to set due dates, to set deliverables for a team. So that's an idea of software that can be used. Um, Zoho Projects is another example. So there are some great tools out there to help you to keep your team on track and to collaborate, because people can engage with the platform, they can make changes to deliverables, they can amend things. And then finally, once you've achieved either a milestone in your team, or you've got to the end of your project and you've achieved the goal, is to celebrate together, because that celebration and that being together creates a sense of camaraderie and togetherness, and together we achieve more. And it's important not to only celebrate at the end. We need these small little milestones along the way to indicate to us we've done a good job, we've achieved this goal, we're going to celebrate. And so there should be several milestones and several celebrations along the way to keep the team committed. Here's a question. What is a common barrier to effective teamwork? And the options there is diverse perspectives, open feedback, poor listening skills, or shared goals. In your opinion, what is a common barrier to effective teamwork? And I realize our interactive slide is not working so great today, so we'd appreciate your comments in the chat.
Just to add on to that, I see a comment here from Hudson, which could also be a barrier to effective teamwork when his question, or the question is how to deal with negativity in cases where the behavior of a leader is a problem. It does become a bit tricky because then that negativity, trickles down to the rest of the team. And just as positivity spreads like wildfire, so does negativity, especially when it's coming from the top. In instances like that, to address that or deal with that is, have a discussion one of the individuals have a discussion with the team leader or the manager and explain to them what their impact is, having towards the team. Sit them down, in a very formal, or rather not try to be, formal, but have a discussion with them and explain that, how their negativity is affecting performance of the team. Let it be a matter of holding each other accountable, because as a manager, as a leader, as a somebody in high authority, you don't realize that my way of speaking or my way of doing it is wrong up until your team calls you out on it in a respectful manner. So acknowledge that they need to understand what they're doing, because many a times they don't realize that, you know. So yeah, I definitely think that could be one of the barriers. I see some good interaction on of the common barriers, poor listening skills. Yeah, most definitely, I agree. Listening to respond, not to understand. Definitely poor listening skills. I'm in agreement.
Thanks so much, Rita. And yes, poor listening skills is very bad for the team. We need to encourage active listening and participation. It's critical for teams to be successful. So we've discussed a lot, or we've discussed in detail the idea that teams bring together different perspectives, different cultures, different frames of reference, different fields of expertise. And so it's important for us to capitalize on all those strengths. So we really want to nurture team member skills. If we identify a skill in a team member, for example, they are good at writing, they are good at presenting ideas, they are good at analyzing a problem, they work well with numbers. We want to make sure that we nurture those skills and bring out those skills in our team efforts. And so just some advice here in terms of nurturing team member skills is offer mentorship and peer learning opportunities. Mentorship is absolutely critical in business. When you speak to experienced individuals who have come a long way and have worked in various departments of a business, they will probably tell you that mentoring is one of the most important concepts in terms of developing individuals in the workplace, but also as for you to have a mentor, somebody to look up to, somebody who believes in you, somebody who will coach you, provide opportunities to learn. They are absolutely critical. So if you are able to offer mentorship in a team, guiding somebody, scaffolding them, helping them along the way, then please do so. If you are in need of a mentor, remember, mentors are not just going to come up to you in business. If you are in need of a mentor, approach somebody, have a chat with them, say that I really enjoy working with you and I want to learn more from you. In those sort of situations, you often find that the mentor or the other team member, they want to help you to succeed, and they will offer those mentorship services to you. So I think importantly is to identify a mentor, somebody that you can work with and that you admire in terms of what they have achieved or what they are busy achieving, and to connect with that person, in a sort of a mentor-mentee role, and really capitalize on that experience. If you are able to mentor somebody else, take them under your wing, help them. It's very fulfilling to be a mentor. Encourage continuous feedback. Remember, we want open and honest communication. The team must trust one another so that um, they can express themselves openly and freely. So yeah, encourage continuous feedback and reflection. And very importantly, team members must know that in a team they can give their opinion. They can say what their feeling is on a particular matter. And you can only do that. People will only be safe if there is a trust relationship in the team. Provide training and development. If you see an opportunity for somebody to be better at what they are doing or for somebody to develop a skill, chat to them about training and development opportunities, either in the business or encourage them to do something outside of the business, perhaps studying a new program or taking a short course or whatever that might be. And recognize and reward growth and effort. If somebody in your team has achieved something, they've finished a qualification, they've just finished a project plan, or they've achieved a major goal at work, let's encourage that sort of behavior and let's reward those individuals. And then I think what I've been mentioning throughout is this idea of a safe space and teamwork where people feel that they can raise issues and no, nobody will come down on them. That it's a safe space for them to air their views. Rita, will you join me in exploring this scenario?
Definitely, definitely. So looking at the scenario in a project review, a mistake is highlighted. Ooh, the room goes quiet. No one wants to take responsibility. Later, one team member admits they knew about it, but didn't feel safe to speak up. Why might people hold back in admitting mistakes? A lot of the times in a project, when we're dealing with projects, we make mistakes and, thinking, oh, my mistake, let me keep it silent. You know, maybe they feel holding it back might be a matter of blame to be shifted on them. Or maybe they don't feel safe. As Johan said earlier, it might not feel like a safe space for them to be able to admit that they've made mistakes. Acknowledging that, mistakes are bound to happen. You know, it's inevitable because that's how we learn. What is it that we're able to learn from these type of mistakes, to redirect, to better ourselves, in how would we handle this moment in real time as a leader? I think first things first, let's be calm-headed about it, because a lot of the times if a mistake is made during, or highlighted, we just tend to want to, yes, it's your fault, you did it, but inevitably them raising that mistake is a matter of boldness, and we might even find that as leaders, we able to redirect the whole project from that mistake and work on it better. Yeah, I definitely think mistakes is inevitable. We are to learn from it and encourage, people to speak up when there are things that are not going right. And when we do make mistakes, let's learn from them.
Thank you, Rita. Just a few takeaways from Rita and I today, revolving around the idea of teamwork and collaboration. Teamwork is not just a skill, it's a mindset. Whether you are the team leader or the team member, we have to have this mindset of together we can achieve more. The individual parts on their own has a certain capacity, but when we combine that skill, the synergy, the ability to conquer challenges and meet objectives is far greater. So it's a mindset, teamwork. Great teams are built on trust, respect, and shared purpose. And finally, let's commit to being better teammates because together we thrive. So if all of us take it upon ourselves to be better team members, to work better in teams, then our teams will be more successful. There is a last opportunity for you to engage with us on the chat. Perhaps you'd like to give us your view or you'd like to make a comment. Otherwise, we will be moving to closing today's presentation. So from my side, and certainly from Rita's side as well, we are very grateful, Rita, Do you want to?
Yes,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you. I see here Jabulani had a question for me. In a case where your team leader always asks you to do the work or give an instruction to do something, but they're always sitting with other teammates. So, this is a situation where you feel picked on, where you always getting the work. You never, you never the one to be guided, perhaps. So I think a lot of the times it could be seen as a good or bad thing, Jabulani, because your team leader might be seeing you as a strength to be able to can deal with the workload, whereas other team members need to have guidance, more guidance. You are more, you self-managed. You can do this on your own. But it also could be a case of, yes, Jabulani is always willing. Maybe Jabulani needs to put up some boundaries and, just, in a professional manner, you know what, I am busy at the moment. Can you get somebody else or delegate somebody else to do that? Healthy boundaries does make a big difference as well, Jabulani. So you can see it either way, as a good thing or a bad thing. I would rather say see it as a good thing, but then set some clear boundaries. It could definitely help.
Thank you very much, Rita. From both of us, a very big thank you for joining us in this session today. We looked at what is teamwork? Why is teamwork important? We looked at different teams in a business. We looked at the stages of team development, and from that, we identified the norming stage. Stage where there's a bit of conflict, the performing stage. We looked at different personality types and their effect or their contribution to teamwork. We looked at how we can ensure team success, and finally, how we could nurture the talents of our team members. From Rita and myself, a very big thank you. Thank you for sharing your views with us.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for engaging with us. It was an absolute pleasure, and we are looking forward to seeing you at the next Wisdom Wednesday. Have a lovely day, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.